Grandmama, you look like a little Red Riding Hood in the kitchen. Or maybe Little Red Rose. Is that what you are this morning?
Yes, Little Red Rose. That's what I am. Good morning, y'all. Today we are going to make some dressing. And it probably will be never like you've made dressing before. Roy and I, back in the late 80s, early 90s, used to own a restaurant. And of course, the name of it was Roy and Roses. So, but every Thanksgiving and every Christmas, it was in Warner Robins, and there's an Air Force base there. Well, every Thanksgiving and every Christmas, I catered a lot of the dinners that some of the people on base had for their little section. They would have Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner. And so I always had to make dressing. I always had to make turkey. And then sometimes that's all they wanted. Sometimes they wanted the sides to go along with it. Well, I had to come up with a quick way to make my dressing, because sometimes I'd be cooking. We had a lunch buffet, Southern cooking lunch buffet every day. And I had to come up with a way that I could quickly make dressing and still cook all my food for my lunch buffet. Because sometimes I'd be doing for 300 and 400 people, catering for 300 or 400 people. And that was a lot of dressing and a lot of turkeys. So this is what I came up with. Everybody loved it. And when my mama tasted some of this, she said, honey, from now on, you're going to be making the dressing. So I'm going to show y'all this morning how I do it. Now, I know 99.9% of other people use cornbread baked in the oven. I do not. I make hush puppies. And you may think it's weird and you may think it's funny, but let me tell you something. It is delicious. And now for us here, I make gluten-free when I make it for us, but I'm making this for somebody else today. So I'm making it full-fledged gluten. It's not gluten-free. All right, now this is self-rising cornmeal right here. When I find a little dark speck, I take it out. Even though I know it's just ground up corn, still I take it out. All right, I'm going to see. This is all the self-rising cornmeal I had, and I think it's White Lily. I'm not sure. I use White Lily self-rising flour when I use gluten, but all right, that's 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups. That was more than a cup. 5 cups of my self-rising cornmeal. Now, to my self-rising cornmeal, because I like my hush puppies light and fluffy, and I like my dressing, I don't like a dense dressing, I'm going to add 1/4 the amount of flour, self-rising flour, that I have cornmeal. So that's for 6 cups of self-rising cornmeal, that's 1.5 cups of self-rising flour. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to measure my eggs for you. I mean, my onions, because I put onions. So, I've got them chopped up right here already. So, that's 1. All right. That'll be 2 cups. 2 cups of onions. Now, I like lots of onions, so I may cut up another one. I'm not sure. All right. Now, even to this, I add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. All right.
You want them real light.
I want them real light. Let me go ahead and turn and I've got my little fry granddaddy over here. That's what I fry my hush puppies in. That's what I deep fry my chicken in. That's what I fry Roy's rabbit in. So, well, there's a big piece of onion.
Just put it in mine.
I'll just break it. Well, you're not going to be eating this, honey. All right, now to this, I'm going to start off with 1 tablespoon of sugar. That sugar just adds to it. It just makes it really, really good.
It doesn't make it sweet. You
No.
just take the edge off the cornmeal.
Right, right. Okay. Now, buttermilk. Whole buttermilk. Now, when I get this all mixed up, I can tell by the consistency of it whether I need to add a little bit more flour to it or not. And I always cook one, break it open, taste of it, and make sure that my mixture's right. If my mixture's not right, I can always add to it. Now, when I'm adding my buttermilk, and I use all pure buttermilk, I mean whole buttermilk. I do not like low fat, but if you do, then that's fine. All right. I don't want to knock that off.
You started with at least a cup.
Yeah, this is a quart right here, and it wasn't quite full. So, and I should have measured. I'm sorry. I should have measured for y'all. But it's going to be about 3, let's see, a quart, 2 cups and a pint, full quart. Okay, this will be about 3 cups of buttermilk.
But you go by the consistency.
I do. I go by the consistency.
She's going to show you the consistency.
Yeah. And I'm not going to put all my buttermilk in it until I put my eggs, because eggs will make it looser. So, but I know I'm going to have to add all that. And I have more buttermilk in the refrigerator. So that was 3 cups of buttermilk.
That's going to get pretty close.
Yeah, by the time I get my eggs in it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I've got 3 eggs here that I'm going to put in it. Now, this is just how I make my dressing. Once I get all these cooked, I'm going to come back and show you how. This is how I make my cornbread, my hush puppies. When I get all of these cooked, then I'm going to come back and show you how I make my dressing.
So if you want a good hush puppy, you just take this and make hush puppies.
That's right. I've got on my channel, Grandma Rose's Open Pantry on YouTube, I've got a video on how to make gluten-free hush puppies also. So just type in Grandma Rose's Open Pantry, gluten-free hush puppies, and it'll come up. Okay. I can usually tell by looking if I'm going to need to add more flour, and I think this looks really good.
That looks really good.
Now you want it thick. You don't want it really thin to make your hush puppies. You want it thicker than cake batter and a little bit thicker than pancake mix. All right.
Say that again.
Thicker than cake batter and a little thicker than pancake mix.
Thicker, not thicker than. Okay.
Thicker. Okay, right. That looks pretty perfect right there.
That's good. Yep.
All right. I'm going to let my grease get hot back here. I'm going to cook one and test it, and then I'll know if I need to add any more baking powder, any more flour, but it looks pretty good to me right now. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Grandmama, Silver Bells is Christmas, not Thanksgiving. You're already in the mood for Christmas.
I'm humming Silver Bells. Okay. All right, y'all. Y'all see this? This is one that I cook. You see how light and airy that is? Perfect. Okay. And when I'm cooking my hush puppies, I always have a cup of water here. So I do it with just a little ladle. I'll dip my ladle down, and I put some hush puppy mix down in my grease.
Makes your mix slide out of you.
And this is a perfect consistency, perfect everything. Delicious. So good, y'all. Look at that.
Yeah, see, it's got little holes all in it. It's light.
All right. I'm going to finish cooking these hush puppies, and then we'll be back and make our dressing.
You got some hush puppies there, Grandmama.
I do. Okay. Now, y'all are probably saying, as I was cooking these hush puppies, I was thinking, now I bet they're saying this is a lot of trouble to go to, but let me tell you, it's worth it. And when you are in a restaurant and when you are trying to get out a buffet and you're trying to cater for a lot of people, you use the resources that you have. We had a huge commercial type oven, but I had more deep fryers than I had oven space. So as we would fry our hush puppies in our deep fryer, then we'd make our dressing, put it in the oven. So I couldn't be making cornbread and dressing in the oven at the same time because I didn't have enough space. So when you get pushed in a corner, you improvise, and sometimes the result is wonderful. And that is the reason I do mine. To begin with was something I had to come up with because I had to have a solution to my problem. But since then, this is the only way I do it. Okay.
Well, everybody that ever tasted this demanded it from then on.
Yes, yes.
So it wasn't just us deciding. It
right.
was the customers and family decided.
Right. Okay. Now this is my hush puppies. And you can make them any size you want to, little, big. They don't have to be brown on both sides, just done in the middle. So this is some broth that I had left from yesterday. Well, Monday I cooked a pork roast, and I told y'all I was going to use some of the broth. This is some of that broth. Now this is a quart of, that was a quart and a cup of broth. I'm going to use chicken and pork.
So that was that much of just pork broth, right?
That was just pork broth. Now this is chicken broth. Now, you see that layer of fat on top?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens when you put it in the refrigerator. That fat gels on top. You take it off like that, and then you've just got pure broth left. And you take your fat off. All right. These are still really, really hot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my potato masher and I'm going to mash them up. I usually do this with my hands, and I will get my hands in it before I get through. I'm just trying to get, this broth just came out of the refrigerator. It's cold. So I'm trying to cool these hush puppies off with my broth. I have almost burned my hands before because I get impatient and I want to get my hands in there and get it all mixed up good. And that's what I will do. Okay, so that was 4 cups. Let's see, this is a quart. Okay, 4 cups, 5 cups of broth so far. But I'll have all this in the description box for y'all. All right, I've got a teaspoon somewhere right here. I'm going to put a teaspoon of pepper. Now, I haven't put any salt because, that wasn't quite a teaspoon, because there's salt in your broth and there's salt in the cornmeal. Okay, I'm going to go in here and see. Okay, see, it's cool enough. That broth cooled it off enough. And a lot of people put biscuit, put loaf bread, different things, but I put flour in my hush puppies, and that keeps me from having to use any extra wheat products.
And her combination of pork and chicken broth
is delicious.
Makes a difference in almost all the dishes, like Brunswick stews and other things that she cooks. She uses the combination of pork and chicken broth.
All right. Now, I'm going to break my eggs. I got 3 eggs here. I'll put them in. I'm going to put some more broth, and I'm going to put, there's a shell. Make sure it's not still on my fingers. I'm going to put cream of chicken soup. All right. I've got 2 cans open here. And with this much dressing, I'm going to use both cans. All right. Okay. That's 2 cans of cream of chicken soup. Now this is a rich dressing, but let me tell you something. It is so good. All right, I'm going to put more broth.
What kind is that?
This is chicken broth.
Okay.
Smells good. All right. Now I'm going in with my hands again. And that was another cup of broth. So that's 6 cups of broth altogether. And I will know exactly when I have the right consistency because I can feel it with my hands. And it's just, oh, it's good. Now let me tell you another secret that I do. When I get through mixing up my dressing, I will put a little bit in a little bowl and I will put it in the microwave and I'll put it on like 30 seconds. That cooks it and it lets me know the consistency of that dressing, whether I've got it wet enough, whether it's too dry. It will let me know the consistency that it's going to have and the flavor when it gets done. I'll know if I need to add more salt. I'll know if I need to add more pepper or anything else. So
I accuse her of cheating by putting it in the microwave and pre-cooking some of it.
well, it's just something I learned to do. I do it with a lot of things.
Now you're not trying to. I want to make it clear they understand. You're not trying to get rid of those crusty little pieces that's in there.
No.
That's fine. That's part of why it's so good.
Okay. All right. It feels good, but it still feels a little bit dry. So I'm going to put about another half a cup of broth in there.
So really, it's just as it begins to get good and soupy, I think, is the consistency.
Not soupy. I don't want it soupy.
Almost.
But yeah.
I said begins to get. I guess that's not very clear.
Okay. Now.
You can just take your soupy meter and put it in there. And...
No, I'm fixing to show them. All right, you see this? When you pat it down, you see it's kind of wet on top.
And it looks like a liquid around the edges.
That's how you know when you got it right. When it looks a little liquid and it's a little liquid around the edges, you know you got it just right. Yep. Can you see that?
It's self-leveling around the edges.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this in the microwave. I'll bring y'all back in just a minute.
Is it ready?
Okay, y'all. I've got some in a little bowl. I've already made, it's like a tablespoon, a little over a tablespoon. I put it in the microwave and put it on 30 seconds. And I did it one time and I tasted of it. And I added about a half a teaspoon of garlic, and I added a whole teaspoon of onion powder to it. And I added another cup of broth because as it sits here, it absorbs some of that broth. So I wanted it, I just added another cup to it. So, but I'll have all this in the description box, but I want to show you how I taste of it since I'm not going to be able to cook it and taste today. And it's hot, hot. But as you can see, it's done after 30 seconds. And this just gives me a little taste test that I can taste because you really can't tell when it's raw what it tastes like, but you can when it's cooked. So it's hot.
You do this test with casseroles?
I do it with a lot of things. I just put like a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half in a little bowl, put it in the microwave on 30 seconds. And then I can tell if my seasonings are right. Okay. That is good. It needed that extra little onion. I should have put another half of onion in it, but you can correct that with onion powder. And if you have dried onion flakes, you can correct it with that. Now, a lot of people put raw onions in theirs. I don't. It gives me indigestion. So I do not put raw onions in my dressing, in my cornbread. I have sprayed this pan, and I'm going to put my dressing, and I'm hoping I'm going to have enough that Roy and that I can have enough for us. A little bowl. Because this is going to a Thanksgiving dinner on Saturday.
But you know I can't start eating dressing this far before Thanksgiving. My legs by next Wednesday will look like turkey legs. I gained so much weight.
All right, y'all. I think that's... Now, I put 2 cans of cream of chicken. If I had a can of cream of celery, I would have put 1 of cream of chicken, 1 of cream of celery. If you want celery in your dressing, by all means, put celery. Whatever you want in yours, but this is just the way I do mine. This is just the way I make mine. So what I'll do is, this is being picked up Friday or Saturday morning. So I will put it in my refrigerator, at the back of my refrigerator, because the back of my refrigerator, I have my refrigerator on 36 degrees, especially this time of the year when I'm cooking a lot. And if I put things at the back, it almost freezes them. So I will put this dressing at the back of my refrigerator, and it will be good until it's picked up Friday afternoon late or Saturday morning. So then all they have to do is slide it in the oven and cook it. And it'll take 45 minutes, 50 minutes to cook it. So I just wanted to show y'all how I make my dressing, because I know it is different from anything probably that you have, any way you have ever seen dressing cooked. So
Hush puppy dressing.
Hush puppy dressing. So thank y'all for joining me this morning. Food feeds the family, family feeds the heart, God feeds the soul, and I'm telling you, this is really, really good. We'll see y'all next time.